most of all, it is also a great example of how art and science, 500 years ago, were still understood as one. Dürer's artistic imagination was later used for scientific research and education, and one could even say it was some kind of sci-fi. Dürer and his contemporaries, Da Vinci and Michelangelo and others, today commonly known as artists, weren't understood only as artists back then. They were craftsmen, engineers, so to say, scientists, and even innovators and inventors. And as such, they are also on the facade of the Swiss Federal Institute of Technology, where I am working. Back then, art, science, and technology, whose alignment we are promoting a lot these days, were not separate disciplines. The alienating separation, and this is a little bit Swiss nationalism I'm promoting here, happened not so long ago. For us European modern individualists, it started in Switzerland in the year 1763, when philosopher and activist Jean-Jacques Rousseau was lying in a rowing boat in the lake of Bienne, and while trying not to think, discovered that there was still something thinking in him. He reinforced what Descartes had said a century earlier, cogito ergo sum, and therefore named this discovery the subject, and consequently the self, and in that sense, individualism, the genius, talent, and even creativity and the artists were invented. In Europe, this was also the time of industrialization, which, as a reaction to the alienation it created, triggered romanticism, a yearning for nature and the wild or indigenous, as opposition to modern civilization, and furthermore, it was also the beginning of an attempt of bringing back aesthetics into a world that was ruled by rationality in order to regain the human as opposed to the machine and mechanic. The before-mentioned Lake of Bienne is in a region where absinthe is produced and where a great part of Swiss watchmaking comes from. Possibly drinking absinthe, these watchmakers rebelled against industrialization and formed one of the first anarchist organizations, the Jura Federation. Even Michael Bakunin, the great-grandfather of anarchism, was part of this Jura Federation, and it could be nice to think of AI also meaning anarchistic intelligence. European artists like Francis Picabia, for example, praised the technological progress, and he said, "Almost immediately upon coming to America, it flashed me that the genius of the modern world is in machinery, and that through machinery, art ought to find a most vivid expression. The machine has become more than a mere adjunct of life. It is really a part of human life, perhaps the very soul. I have enlisted the machinery of the modern world and introduced it into my studio." And after the end of World War I, artists in Europe also started embracing the idea of the machine. Maybe like today, there was a lot of hope in technological progress that should, in a leap forward, solve a lot of human problems. In Berlin, they killed art and started celebrating the machine art of Tatlin. A new and actually old kind of representation of the artist was created again. The artist was no longer seen only as an artist, but also as a prophetic engineer who would shape the future of humankind. Today, as one of the main new technologies is being developed, we face similar utopian and also dystopian views on AI, not only in art, but in the public opinion. AI will save all our problems, or AI will kill us all. In the research and development itself, amongst computer scientists, mathematicians, and engineers, the natural language is very technical and hard to understand for outsiders. And at the Swiss Federal Institute of Technology, AI is used in all 16 departments, from architecture over earth science, biology, health science, to environmental systems and chemistry. More than 120 faculties are connected to the AI Center, including more than 200 postdoc researchers and 1,400 doctoral students. The center itself hosts 40 research fellows and also is engaged in academia, engineering, startups, entrepreneurship, cooperation, and industry collaboration. The mission of the AI Center is to lead the way towards a trustworthy, accessible, and inclusive artificial intelligence for the benefit of society. Accessible and inclusive AI means that AI technologies and applications are not only understandable and interpretable, but also easy to use, which mainly means at low costs involved. In this sense, as I can also see from our fellows and faculties, it is not about competition, but much more about collaboration. And trustworthy AI deals with the question of AI applications being robust, lawful, ethical, and follows 4 ethical principles, which are the respect for human autonomy, prevention of harm, fairness, and explicability. And we also want to change the relation of human and machine away from the competition between the two towards a collaborative AI. Instead of optimizing AI for peak performance in specific tasks, we propose focusing on the search for optimal synergies between the skills of humans and AI, a world in which machines collaborate with us seamlessly as our co-workers. Or as my boss would say, we want to enhance humans with AI. Nowadays, AI and art is in general associated with AI-generated images such as DALL-E, GAN, deepfake videos, or style transfer applications. Connected with the NFT hype, this leads to that point where almost any kind of visual is suddenly an artwork and art. And also in connection to the other buzzword, the metaverse, where we mainly refer to AR and VR, art in that sense of creating these worlds is very prominent. And also in the field of NLP, natural language processing, with famous programs like GPT-3, art is present with theater and improvisation, for example. And by bringing art and artists into the context of the AI Center, we first and foremost understand art as a critical feedback from society to science, what also informs engineering and design. More specifically, we have 4 goals in mind. The first one is to encourage critical thinking and the reflection of ethical questions in building and using AI. The second one is in relation to what kind of input data is used for the training of AIs, but also in the way AI embarks on the journey of lifelong learning. It is important to diversify knowledge. That is, to look at different epistemologies, which are not mainly rational or Western or commercial, and also on different kinds of intelligences and mindsets. With our AI and art conversation in lab visits and public talks, we encourage the dialogue between art and science by bringing artists and scientists, but also curators, activists, engineers, and critical thinkers together to exchange their ideas and practices and works. The importance of dialogue and conversation is based on before-mentioned anarchist, activist, and anthropologist David Graeber, who said, "Neuroscience has shown that real thought is almost entirely dialogic. Cognitive scientists do make clear that what's called the window of consciousness is rare and brief. It averages around maybe 7 seconds. But if you are really interested and engaged with someone else, you can maintain it for hours." The implications of this are profound, because the most self-aware thought takes place at exactly the moment when the boundaries of the self are the least clear. And in that sense, conversations between art and science are also the first step towards a collaboration.